This is the Baltimore Annapolis Psychotherapy Podcast. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute for seeking help from a licensed mental health professional. And now, here's Laura Reagan, LCSW-C, with today's episode.
Hi, welcome back to the podcast. In the last episode of the Baltimore Annapolis Psychotherapy Podcast, I asked whether you've ever had a loss of relationship with someone with whom you used to be very close. For example, something happened which led you to decide that you don't want to communicate with this person anymore, or maybe you are just setting different boundaries around the role they have in your life because continuing to be close the way you were before after what happened just feels too painful. I'm thinking of situations like, for example, if you are an adult and when you were a child, your parent was physically abusive to you and you really haven't had a great relationship with them throughout adulthood, but as you're getting older, you're realizing that you have a lot of feelings about how your childhood was that you're really kind of holding on to, and they're getting in the way of having a close relationship with your parent. So assuming that your feelings are still unresolved because you and the person haven't been able to work this out by discussing it, the question becomes, how do you move forward from this point? In that episode where I discussed this, I raised the point that our culture tells us, both through religion and popular opinion, that forgiveness is a requirement for healing. There's a famous quote, and I haven't found the person who actually said it. I've seen it attributed to a lot of different people. But the quote is that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Regardless of who said it, you get the concept. It's that your resentment hurts you and not the other person. I really agree with that because feeling angry and resentful about things that happened in the past, holding it against someone else, holding a grudge, that doesn't really hurt them necessarily, but it does cause you a lot of pain. So what do? Our culture says just forgive them. Let it go. Stop being upset about it. But forgiveness, I don't think is that simple. I mean, when you say, okay, I'm just going to forgive them because I don't want to be upset about it anymore, what does that really mean? Do you really authentically forgive them? If you have forgiven them, what are the feelings that are unresolved? Why are they still there, causing you pain? Is forgiveness necessary to heal from the hurt of whatever happened? What about when the person has asked for forgiveness, but they haven't really acknowledged what they did or truly apologized? What if the person never asked? What if they're gone and they're never going to ask for it, so you can't have that conversation? Sometimes you want to give forgiveness to make yourself feel better or to have a better relationship with them. Sometimes you don't want to give it because you're really angry and holding on to that. Is forgiveness really about the person who did wrong, or is it about the person who's feeling hurt? Is it for your healing or theirs, or for healing the relationship? So here are some thoughts on forgiveness. When someone hurts you, and I'm talking about deep, serious hurts, like if your parent was an alcoholic, let's say your father was an alcoholic who hit your mother, he cheated on her throughout your childhood, and he hit you when you were a child. Maybe now he's in recovery, and you're glad he's not drinking anymore. But what happened still affects you. Adults who witness domestic violence in childhood often feel those effects throughout their lives until they work through them in some way, usually through therapy. Being physically abused has long-lasting effects. And it's traumatic having a parent who isn't there for you, someone who's unpredictable, when your home life is chaotic. And these are typical characteristics of families in which one or both parents are alcoholics or there's physical abuse. So aside from his infidelity to your mother, his alcoholism, not being there for you, and physical abuse of your mother and yourself, you say, well, conventional wisdom is I'm supposed to forgive him, then I won't feel so bad. And maybe you're so glad he's sober and you really want to forgive and forget so you can have the relationship that you never had when you were younger. So if you can truly do that, forgive him from the heart and put the past behind you, moving forward with a healthy and functional adult relationship with him, then I'm so happy for you, because that is so positive. And that's what we all want, is to have those loving, healthy, functional relationships with the people we love, the important people in our lives. But for many of us, that's easier said than done. In that situation, jumping to forgiveness without acknowledging the hurt you feel is trying to repair something. It's like putting a Band-Aid on something when what it really needs is surgery to repair a broken bone or heal an infection. So in this example, when you consider forgiving your father for these things that he did when you were younger so long ago, and how you see how he's changed his life, he's in recovery, and you want him to succeed, you want him to be the dad you want him to be, is it easier if he asks for forgiveness? If so, how does he ask? Does he apologize for what he did? A big part of asking for forgiveness and apologizing for past actions that were harmful to someone else is that what happened and how the person feels about it needs to be acknowledged. So if he says in this example, I'm sorry I hurt you, that's good. I mean, it acknowledges the hurt, but it doesn't really say what his actions were that hurt. And when there's that much, oftentimes people are going to need that to really feel that it's healing. Not everyone. Maybe some people may think that that's sufficient, because acknowledging the hurt is really important too. What I often notice is that in a child's way of thinking, the adult who hurt them is the one who is to be pitied. So for children who've experienced trauma, there's often more empathy for the adult who hurt them than for themselves. And that's very kind and generous. The problem is, if you're an adult who experienced childhood trauma, particularly if you were hit, sexually abused, or if your emotional needs weren't met when you were younger, you might be more likely to believe deep inside that something is inherently wrong with you than you are able to acknowledge the pain that was caused by an adult's actions, especially when that adult was someone who was supposed to take care of you and love you. So when that adult says, I know I wasn't there for you when you were a kid, you might feel very eager to receive this as an apology and move forward, hoping to finally have that relationship you always wished for. And that relationship you want can be built. But if you have unresolved feelings about what happened, they may get in the way of closeness. So going back to the example of the father who was physically abusive to the mother, abused alcohol, physically abused the child, and was never there for the children because of the alcoholism. Assuming your dad has truly accepted responsibility for his actions and acknowledged how you were hurt by his actions, which usually doesn't happen because it's too painful for that person to say, it may feel hollow without addressing the hurt and the trauma that's there from childhood and just doesn't go away until it's worked through, usually in a therapeutic process. What I've found to be effective is the process of acknowledging the emotional pain and the effects of the trauma, using self-compassion, which is a concept that Kristin Neff, PhD, has researched extensively and written about in her book, Self-Compassion, which I highly recommend. Using the concepts of self-compassion, you can allow yourself to feel the emotions that you've been trying to avoid because they're so painful. Give yourself compassion for this painful human experience that you're having. And then maybe forgive yourself for believing that there was something about you that was unworthy. And that opens things up for you to be able to really and truly forgive the other person, the person who hurt you, realizing that maybe they couldn't do any better. They're not a perfect person. And being able to then build a relationship with them based on that understanding of their imperfection and reconnecting around the love that is there, even though they're not a perfect person, and building the relationship from that. The process may be much more difficult than just simply saying, well, I'm going to put the past behind me and move forward, forgive the person, and go on. But you will have a real deep, authentic relationship with the person without all this long-held resentment, pain, and suffering that you have experienced as you try to deny the way you really feel inside. As I mentioned, Kristin Neff's book, Self-Compassion, is an excellent resource. It's not that long of a read, and it's really good with practical tips. And her website as well, which is www.selfcompassion.org. It has a quiz you can take about how self-compassionate are you. It has some guided meditations for self-compassion, which I think are really good, and some activities that you can do to increase your self-compassion. It's something that most of us can improve on, and it's different from self-pity or self-esteem. It's a very healing process. The truth is, the effects of childhood trauma can really be long-lasting and can contribute to really poor health outcomes physically and emotionally if not addressed. So if you are in the Baltimore area and you're looking for therapy to deal with your childhood trauma, check out my website, www.laurareagan.LCSW-C, and see if you think that maybe working together might be a good fit. This is an area that I have specialized in for years, and I really enjoy helping people understand that there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the trauma that makes you feel how you do, and helping them connect with themselves in a deeper way so they can have more deep, authentic, true connections with the important people in their lives. That's it for today. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Baltimore Annapolis Psychotherapy Podcast with Laura Reagan, LCSW-C. For more, visit Laura's website, www.laurareaganlcswc.com.